Now, the Met Police is under fire, once again, after a Holocaust memorial was covered up. A blue tarpaulin was placed over the monument in Hyde Park in central London. Now, there were fears that it would be vandalised by pro-Palestine activists. I'm joined by former Met Police detective Peter Bleksley. Peter, always a pleasure, mate. Now, the Met Police have come out quite robustly and they've said, wasn't me. And they said, actually, it was park authorities that have covered it up instead. But, Peter, my point to that would be, well, why have authorities felt they need to cover it up? And is it because, actually, they fear that the police won't do a single damn thing about this?
I think there's a huge element of truth in what you say there, because what we've seen since these marches began after the 7th of October is Sir Mark Rowley's Metropolitan Police basically oppress any opposition to these marches, challenge anybody who's got a differing view, rip a sign from somebody's grasp if they dare to have the temerity to point out the truth that Hamas are terrorists. And they've chosen a side. Rowley's robots have chosen a side, and that is to enable these pro-Palestine marches to go ahead without any kind of incumbents whatsoever. And also within those marches to allow the hate spreaders, those who want to see the genocidal end to the sovereign state of Israel, to spread their bile, spew their hate, and quite frankly, almost do as they like.
And Peter, what is the overall cost then to the taxpayer? You know, what would this actually mean in the way of police resources and time? And the police is what should be, anyway, the police and priorities.
It's in excess of £40 million if we're just going to talk about cold, hard cash. But there is, of course, a greater impact upon victims of crimes, because these marches, with 1,000, sometimes 2,000 or more police officers drawn away from other neighbourhoods, other areas of the Met, and sometimes from other parts of the country, means that police resources have been taken away from tackling crime in other parts of London and further afield. So there is an impact. There will have been shortages of police officers in other parts of the great metropolis, which will have affected response times, officers getting to emergency calls, and quite probably victims being failed or put at greater danger.
Yeah, I mean, Peter, just finally on this, we had to cover up Sir Winston Churchill during the Black Lives Matter protests, and they've had to have a ring around them during the pro-Palestine protests. We've seen, well, there've been a whole war memorials have been stood on and trampled over like they're, you know, the rubbish under someone's shoe. A lot of people look at London right now and feel that it has totally lost control, you know, whether that be the Police and Crime Commissioner and the Mayor of London, or whether that be, as you mentioned, Mark Rowley. What do people do? This frustration, this anger that people feel, right? It's just unrelenting right now.
It is, and sadly, we are all, particularly those of us who live in London and other parts of the Metropolitan Police area, which impinges into some of the home counties, we are far more in danger than we were in previous years. And the statistics like knife crime bear that out. Sadly, there is a responsibility upon us all to keep us, our homes, our loved ones, everything that we've worked so hard for, to keep it safe, because the Metropolitan Police have, by and large, abandoned the streets. So now shoplifters rule the high streets and steal with impunity. They've abandoned the communities where we live, so burglary, car crime is carried out unabated, and offenders are simply not caught in the numbers they should be. And these protests are allowed to proceed as they wish, all of which creates the consequence, which is mob rule 2024.
All right. Peter Bleksley there, thank you very much as ever for your time.